Hey everybody,
Hey,
welcome to another one of our videos.
if you weren't here the first time, my name is Alec,
And I'm Brian,
and
welcome
welcome
to
to
Meet
Meet
the
the
Mazelins.
Mazelins.
Yes. Alright guys, so today's topic, we're going to talk about our coming out stories. So it's not just going to be a regular coming out story, we're going to actually give you the journey to self-discovery when we realize that things were a little different with us, and we're going to go from there to the big coming out story.
Alright, so of course, this video is gonna have two parts. So we'll focus on one person per episode. But to choose who is gonna start, we are gonna flip a coin.
How fun.
Alright, so you choose heads or tails.
Heads.
Okay. Harder than I thought.
Okay.
There we go.
Heads.
Alright, it's heads.
So that means I go first.
Okay.
Right.
Alright, so when did you first realize that you might be a little different?
I would say that I realized that I was different, or something was different, when I was probably like 6.
Okay.
It's actually the TLC video Creep. T-Boz's dance partner in that video was a guy who was playing the trumpet, and they had on the silk pajamas. It was him who did it.
I feel like some people are gonna have to go back and search for this video.
Oh, don't worry. I'll put something in here to show you who I'm talking about. But yeah, it was looking at him. I realized like I had an attraction to him and not her. So that's when I realized like things were different. And I remember being so young, just knowing that gay was bad. So I felt kind of weird about it. But I mean, I was called gay all throughout elementary school. So
is it that you found that going through school that you were looking at guys more so than you were looking at girls?
Yeah, absolutely. I thought girls were pretty, but I just had an affinity for men, or for males, I guess. Like I just thought they were handsome or cute. Like my attraction was more than just, oh, he's handsome. It was like, damn.
Okay, well, I mean, you kind of knew from pretty young.
Yeah, I did. Like even in middle school, I learned more of what gay was, and I think that's when I started to develop more of a self-hatred, because I knew exactly what it was, and like family functions were the worst, because if a gay person would come up on television, they would really get talked about in my family. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I kind of like feel like that, and I don't want them to hate me or talk about me the way that they talk about somebody gay on TV. So I started to try to mask who I really was.
And you say you just kept it to yourself?
Of course. Yeah, I kept it to myself. I even started to like try to date girls. I remember in my 8th grade year, I asked a girl out, and she like embarrassed me in front of everybody. It was like I'm not gonna date you because you're a fag. Sorry, if I have to bleep that word out, I will. But yeah, it was mortifying. It was so embarrassing to be called that. And I really didn't know what I was giving. Like I didn't know what I was giving off to be called that.
So you're probably looking at yourself now and wondering, like, is my wrist too limp,
am I breaking my wrist too much? Or is it too much of a list in what I'm saying? Like, I didn't know. So in high school, what I did was I just reinvented myself, and I stopped talking, because I realized that when I said too much, people started to question my sexuality.
Okay, well, you just said in high school a while ago, but well, for me, coming from Jamaica, high school for us is the 7th grade, going straight up to like the 12th or 13th grade. I don't know if you guys have 13th grade, but so we just want like for you to give us like an age
grade?
range, yeah, or like a grade.
Okay, so it would have been 9th grade, and I was 14.
Okay, so that's high school.
That's high school.
Okay.
So when I was 14 is when I kind of went into a shell. I developed this persona of this straight guy, and I couldn't talk too much, so I developed like this mysterious vibe, and everybody was kind of into it. So it kind of worked for me, you know what I mean? I got girlfriends. I dated girls all throughout high school. But even with me dating a girl seriously and like we were sexually active, I still watched gay porn.
Mm-hmm.
Like I still had my attraction for men had gotten so much stronger at that point.
Okay,
So
so even in the heights of dealing with females, like it was.
I still like men. Like I still had an affinity for men.
Okay, so when was the first time that you actually like acted on
It was after I graduated.
high school?
After I graduated high school, um, yeah, he was actually my first boyfriend,
Mm-hmm.
and I had already moved to Tampa, and I ended up coming back because one of my classmates had died.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a hotel room being fast, and he came over. We were wrestling, and then one thing that led to another.
That's how it starts.
So yeah.
Do you think that any of your feelings from like that high school period, or maybe even a little bit after high school, that it's like shaped how you interact with people now?
Yes, for sure. Because I still find myself masking who I am.
Mm-hmm.
Because I like, not so much now, probably within like the last 3 or 4 years, I've been more comfortable with who I am as a person, and verbally telling people that I'm gay and not having to hide anything or use them, they, you know what I mean? It's always a he, him, whatever now for like the last 3 years. But before, I still, into my late adulthood, would not speak.
Mm-hmm.
I would just sit back and speak when spoken to.
Okay.
Yeah. But then college came.
Okay, so this is where it gets spicy now.
A little bit, yeah. I lost my mind. In college, oh my God. Yeah. All hell broke loose. So when I left home, my mom and I have always been very close, but because I couldn't be who I wanted to be, there was always this brick wall that I couldn't allow her into. So I ended up developing a gay family at the age of 18, 19.
What you guys are about 19?
Yeah, at 19, I was introduced to the gay world, and it was like sending a kid into a candy store. Like drag, pageants, balls. I was a part of it all. And I enjoyed myself. Like I became a Sanchez. I mean, you guys probably don't know what that is, but that's a gay family. Like a big name is Stasha. Stasha is now Garcon. I think that's her ball name, but she's Stasha Sanchez.
So if anybody watched Legendary season 2, she's the house mother of House of Garcon.
She's my grandma. She might not know it, but
she's your drag grandma.
She's my drag grandma. So yeah, I had a great 19th year, but I had so much fun that I ended up having to go back home and refocus because I stopped going to school, was partying too much, and I really had hit a low in my life. So now we get to the coming out part.
Okay.
So I didn't have a phone at this time, and I needed to go back to Orlando for whatever reason it was. So I had to borrow my mom's work phone. Like she had 2 phones, and she allowed me to borrow this one. So I go to Orlando, and of course I'm calling my friends from this phone number, and you know, everything's good. The weekend goes great. I come back home, give her phone back. I'll say maybe a week or 2 goes by, and I remember being in my bed, and she walked through the door, and all I heard was Brian. Like she just screamed my name. And she calls me to the kitchen, and she's like, "Who is such and such?"
It's not even me, and I can like feel my heart racing.
She's like, "Who was such and such?" And I'm like, my heart sank at this point because this person was so comfortable with who they were. So I'm trying to figure out, how do you know this? How do you know this person? Like, what happened? She was like, so they left a voice message on my phone. They must have pocket dialed me. And I'm like, oh my God. And she's like, let me play the message for you. I was like, no, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. She's like, what's trade? Oh God, are you serious? She's like, what's trade? And she gets explicit. They're talking about Can I say this? I'm just it's YouTube.
Your story.
Talking about sucking dick, trades dick, and like, oh my god, it was so bad. And my mom, up until this point, now mind you, I'm 19. My mother never cursed around me. She never said anything vulgar, anything. So for her to be talking to me like that, I'm like hurt. I'm so embarrassed, and yeah, it was a really bad experience. And then she just flat out asked me at that point, she's like, "Are you gay?" And I said, "Yeah." I couldn't hide it at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I guess at that point you really couldn't do anything, but I would have been so scared to answer. I would have just probably run through the door and
yeah. And the bad part about it is I had just moved home. Like I had just moved home probably maybe 3 weeks before. So she's already upset that I had to come back home. And then she finds out this, and it was like we didn't speak for maybe 3 months. And we had just moved, like we were living together, just cohabitating. Like we weren't
so
saying
you were just
anything.
in and out and
In and out from the garage to my room. If I had to eat, I would eat in my room. Like we just didn't talk. We just were not cool at all. And she left me a 4-page letter about how she was pretty much disowning me, how she was writing me out the will. I was gonna have to pay all kinds of bills because she didn't accept it. It was really tough. It was an extremely hard time, but we ended up getting past it. Like me and her, we're much better now. But yeah, that was pretty hard.
Yeah, I can imagine, like, especially having to still be in that space is like you have to face this every single day, you know? So, I mean, what happened since then? Because when did you get out of that situation?
So, I want to say I moved back. It was after Memorial Day because I went to Pride. And I said, yeah, I'm gonna go back after that.
So you never learned your lesson.
Well, listen, I mean, that was my last hurrah. So I went to Pride and I came back probably June. She found out in August, and I left in April.
Okay.
So I was there probably for like another 6 months and realized I couldn't do it, and I ended up moving back to Orlando. I got my own spot, got a job, and I think things were starting to go up. And then I met a guy who I thought at Pride. And he ended up.
Is that your hint? Don't pick up people at Pride.
I mean, you know, to each its own. It might work for you, but it did not work for me. He stole my identity. He spent the night and stole my identity. Had a whole hotel and apartments in California and everything.
And I mean, I don't even know Mazelin to be a very common name, so that should have been so easy.
It was very easy for him. It was hard for me at the time because I'm like, I only had $6 in my account. Like, you gonna take that? Damn. But yeah, so at that point, I had enough with guys because I'm like nothing was adding up with dudes, and I'm like, you know what? Maybe this ain't for me. Maybe I shouldn't be doing this. And I had a conversation with her, and I told her like maybe I made a mistake, and I think that was the mistake that I did because I gave her false hope. I ended up having a child, love him to death, wouldn't have changed any of that, but in that process she kind of like got excited thinking that she had got her straight son back. And yeah, it was just a phase. Like it wasn't supposed to happen, but yeah, my baby's here now, and me transitioning back into guys put us right back into that negative spot. Because like I said, I gave her false hope. I wasn't true to myself. So we went through another rough patch for a couple months. But this time I was a little bit more self-sufficient, and I was a lot more aware of who I was. So it didn't depress me this time. It just made me mad because I'm like, we were good. You know what I mean? And I think because I am so headstrong and we're both Aries, she kind of respects me on a different level now because I can tell her what it is, and she knows I'm not going to change my mind. I'm not going to go back on what it was or who I am as a person. 33, I'm completely happy with my homosexual ass. So
that's good to know.
Yes, it's great.
So fast forward a little bit now, because you would have gone through this with her a second time. You know, how has everything been since? Like, especially now that you've taken the additional step to get married. I mean, engaged now, married later. But I can imagine that. I mean, I was there, so I know that everything wasn't just smooth sailing. The way that everything came out.
So at the age of 27, she met somebody I was talking to at the time, and she told me that she only accepted. No, she didn't accept. She tolerated that side of my life. So when she said that, I kind of cut her completely out of that side of my life. So when I did get engaged, I was not going to tell her. I wasn't going to tell her I was getting married. I wasn't going to tell her anything. Just because you're not going to tolerate me. You know what I mean? It's either you accept it or respect it and let that be. But the word tolerate just turned me all the way off. So it was a little rough. Like, I was nervous to tell her that I had gotten engaged. Like, I had to do it in stages. I had already been engaged for about a month when I told her I had met Alec. So I'm like, yeah, there's somebody who's special in my life. Yeah, he's gonna be around. Just know that. And then maybe 3 or 4 months later, we're 5 months into the engagement. I went down there to help her put Side down, and I was gonna tell her then, but was too afraid because I didn't want to disappoint her. And after I left, I thought about Alec, like, having the guts to actually sit down in front of his mom and tell her everything. It's like, it's not fair to him. So I called her as soon as I left and was like, listen, I was always afraid to tell you this because I didn't want to hurt your feelings. I was scared. Like, at 32, I'm still afraid to disappoint my mother. And I told her that I was getting married. And she actually had a good reaction. It's like, she asked about him. She asked when she'd be able to meet him. And I mean, it went on from there. Like, it was good from there.
I mean, in the moment, I think I completely understood. Because it's funny that even though we're the age that we are now, we still look for that acceptance and that reassurance, especially from a parent, somebody that's so close to you, to just be reassured that everything is okay, that you're going to be loved regardless. Yeah, but it was really tough to watch you from the sideline. Like, for me, it wasn't even that I was like, oh, he needs to tell his mother because I feel any less loved. It was more hard watching you struggle through it, just because I knew how afraid you were, and especially knowing how close you and your mother are. I didn't want to be the reason that, for whatever reason, your relationship wasn't as tight as I've known it to be.
Yeah. I think me telling her wasn't the hard part. In the grand scheme of things, I think when I came out to everybody, if you haven't watched the video before, I talked about how I came out to the world. It was in an Instagram video. Once my family saw it, that kind of reignited her embarrassment. And I kind of knew it was going to happen because she did not want the family to know. And they knew. So when it was brought back to me about conversations that were had, she was straight up. She was honest about how she's still a little embarrassed about it. And that, I think that was hard for Alec, because after I got off the phone and heard the conversation, I was fine. But then I went in the room and broke down because, like, I'm pretty self-sufficient. I think I'm a good guy. And to be embarrassed, like, it kind of hurt my feelings a little bit, but.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I wouldn't even say a little bit. Like, I had never seen you ripped up the way that you were when you felt like she was still embarrassed. And, as I tell you, watching from the sidelines, it was super difficult to see. And, I just had to keep on reassuring you that you're more than that. Yeah, it was just hard.
Yeah.
It was hard. But where are you guys now? Cause
now we're great. We're good. She asks about Alec every time we talk. She asks about you today. She asks, and because my son lives with me, like we're on a little family. That's how she refers to us. She asks, "How's your family doing?" So that's a big step for her. So it makes me really happy to see where we've come.
And it's in a short period of time too, because that was April. We're now the end of September. You know, so I think that coming from them thinking, well, you know, you don't think that she's gonna come to the wedding or anything like that, to know where it is, where, you know, she can ask about me all the time. Yeah, it's very reassuring, and I think it just hits home that, you know, if somebody really loves you, they'll be able to look deep down within themselves to say, you know, your sexuality is just one part of you, and that doesn't define who you are as a person. And I'm glad that she was able to look past that, and accept you for everything that you are. Because that's a very beautiful person, and you know, I'm glad, because I would have been so guilty. I'm glad that things are the way they are now.
Would have been your fault, babe.
Yeah, I know, but so how do you feel now, though? Now that you've not just come out to your family, but you've come out to the world?
I feel free. Free, and the word free doesn't give my feeling justice. I can be 100% who I am. No questions asked. Everybody knows it is what it is. And I don't have the personality for people to come at me sideways. So they'll just talk behind my back and I don't hear about it. Which is, and RuPaul says it, like, if they don't, how she say, if they don't pay your bills, don't pay them no mind. That's exactly what it is. Nobody's feelings towards who I am today, it holds no merit with my life at all. So I'm happy. Very happy.
Okay. Well, that was part 1. So that's Brian's story. And in the next video,
it'll be his story.
So I hope you guys stay tuned. If you like this video, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share. Yeah, all of that good stuff. We told you what to do already.
All right, guys.
So see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Ready? Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another one of our videos. Start it over. Ready? All right. Hey, everybody. My name is. If you have not. Oh my God.
We can't make it past the intro.
This wasn't this hard the last time. Right.
Okay, we're doing this over.
Yeah.
I'm not deleting that one though.
You don't want to do. Hey fam.
Hey.
Welcome back to our channel. Oh gosh.
We're tired.